Hello， 大家好，欢迎大家收看由网易暴雪主办，由 SPN 为您带来的2018炉石传说中欧对抗赛。我是今天的解说娇娇。
大家好，我是解说导猫。
大家好，我是狗腿。
首先将要看到的是我们第一场的比赛，会由 Hunter Ace 对阵到我们一个非常新生代的小 T。
他决定先打一个闪电风暴，把这个局面先解了。
冰片可以选择不出，看他怎么考虑。
冰片后面可能可以用来控一下高攻的生物，欠着很多呀。
差点给忘了这个事情。那也是恭喜小 T 先下一场。
猫头鹰，
应技不错，
这个不错。
交了，
毕竟可以保个4-4嘛。
对，而且手里面也有沉默，他如果去下一个什么墙之类的东西，沉默就是了。
哇，这个对局好快啊！我发现。哎呀，
这个基数列打你有任务贼，有这个偶数数还是比较轻松能跑的，因为有个位置血嘛。
哦，这个起手可以啊！哇，真的是来了，漂亮！
恭喜小 T 也是成功的
成为了第一位
杀入8强的选手。
对。
恭喜小 T 成功的晋级到了2018中欧对抗赛的8强当中。
但是他也没办法，他不打传播，
没有别的选择。
因为当时他手上几个奥秘的话，你看毒蛇，毒蛇也不合适吧？
是的，想保住自己的嘲讽，很可惜啊。这边627也是到手，
打东西太好玩了。
之前聊过，是邦尼 Purple 除了技术贼，都带了627，所以打这种猎人，打这种德鲁伊总归是有点优势。
上一个这个，
凌乱季回去以后做梦都是为了醒多瑞的荣耀。
是啊，这个神抽的这个66，
哎呀，真是，什么情况？这个
没吃到，被别人给吃了。是，其实凌乱镜也是
真的没有
参加中欧对抗赛，
他其实打的也没有说特别有问题，就是这个手牌的话来的确实不好。
之后每个怪感觉都很能打。
对，这也行，因为现在他的上古就变得血，就不太怕这张牌还是。
这里的话应该是选择这个3加闪电风暴了。
对。
其实他刚刚就需要这张蜂巢。
算是吧，所以我就觉得有可能可以先骗一个 AOE， 然后在下回合再。就是我知道你不喜欢被30血吊打，这个我看你直播。
是的，就是一般就是尊严一下。
其实就那手打得特别好，他就是把32咬一下双横扫，这回合就没有扫的，就是要不然他那个3-4好像可以解掉一个怪吧？对，确实可以解掉一个一个
圣盾
的墙，
一个
就是因为3+1+1对吧？
这样应该是个100%死局了，就是没有任何机会。
暴光芒解3，
如果像两位所说的那样，早点贴冷血的话，我觉得这局还是很有机会的。
早点贴冷血就死。
还先要了一个1费的那个欢乐发明家再开，没有先开会就是送起来就不舒服嘛。对，这样很完美。这边应该打完了，但是阿迪又上来就放走了一个最难跑的任务贼，那这样 XOP 只有一个猎人比较难受了。
好，这样的话我们也是恭喜一下 RDU 也是扳回一局呢，目前比分是 XOP 2-1领先。
哇，恭喜 XOP！
恭喜 XOP 拿到了最后一个8强的席位。
那么也是恭喜 XOP 成为第2个出现的我们中国选手，这样再次恭喜 XOP， 哎，这样有点可惜。
您正在收看的是《传说中欧对抗赛》。
看抓子吗？看这一回合了，前面一刀非常连，3刀里面中1刀就能打赢。哎呀，就差1刀啊！
也是恭喜 Clanton。
欢迎来到2016炉石传说中欧对抗赛的决赛现场。
寒冰剑，直接来吧！一个萨龙吧，
连
解一下场好不好？解一下场。需要打什么？流浪，好，恭喜若曦！
欢迎来到2017炉石传说中欧对抗赛决赛的现场。
两费垃圾卡是很多的，对，还有多这种卡。那我们恭喜一下 HEARTHSTONE
成为2017年中欧对抗赛的冠军。
现场以及所有屏幕前的观众朋友们，大家下午好！欢迎来到由网易暴雪主办、由量子体育 Westpin 为您带来的2018炉石传说中欧对抗赛的比赛现场，我是主持人小袁。本次中欧对抗赛将会从9月26号到10月2号，为期7天的时间，在上海的舞台为大家奉献出最为精彩的中欧对抗。那么今天已经来到了最紧张刺激的8强淘汰赛的赛段，6位欧洲选手以及2位中国选手将会为了冠军殊荣以及一台专属于冠军的阿斯顿马丁，在舞台上奋力拼搏。那么首先要揭晓的是在今天的8强赛段各位的对阵情况。那么今天的第一场比赛将会是由太子来对阵到 Bunny Hopper， 接下来将会是由 Orange 来对阵到 X Hope， 而第3场比赛将会是由黑神来对阵到小 T， 而最后一场较量将会是由 Fury Hunter 来对阵到 A83650。谁将会赢得仅有的4强席位和名额呢？让我们共同期待他们的精彩表现吧。接下来，让我们有请今天的第一组选手登场。首先是人气与实力并存的荷兰选手太子。而他的对手将会是2018 HTT 第1赛季的欧洲冠军，来自于德国的 Bunny Hooper。4强争夺战的第1场马上就要开始，接下来让我们把画面来交给今天的3位解说。
All right, everybody, welcome to day 6 of EU versus CN. For today, your casters will be myself, Gia, and Dr. J, who has been on most of the nights so far. Are you feeling good, Dr. J?
Oh, I am feeling fantastic, Gia. I am so excited. We are getting ever closer to figuring out who is taking home that Aston Martin. And I mean, I couldn't have probably picked a better top 8. I think it has a good representation of, some of the most notable players within the European scene and the Chinese scene.
Yeah, absolutely. If you guys are just joining us on this day, the top 8 was decided throughout the previous 5 days, and it was originally 8 EU players versus 8 Chinese players, where Europe took the first round in an 8-0 sweep, but later on in the decider matches, Xiao Ti and X Hope were able to represent China in the top 8, whereas unfortunately Hunter Ace and was it RDU that fell in the earlier stages?
Yeah, I believe Hunter Ace and RDU were the only 2 European players that, did not make this top 8. As you can see, it was, the story at the beginning was how, dominating the Europeans were. And it was just crazy to see how consistent they were. All 8 of them made it past their first initial group, which guaranteed 4 of them in the top 8. And there was a potential that all 8 of these players could have been from Europe.
Yeah, that's true. But I'm glad to see that at least in the Chinese hometown, there are people that are there to represent the audience and give something of the live audience. Some fans can look forward to it. But anyway, we can see that the lineups are available now. And you can't really read Chinese, but we've got the deck list right in front of us. And already you can see that it seems like Bunny Hopper's decks are very favored against Tice's. That Tempo Mage from Tice looks like it's going to struggle, whereas the Secret Hunter looks like it could be in a pretty good position.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I think Tice might actually have to ban out that Hunter. It's kind of weird to say that, but Bunny Hopper's lineup is looking very strong overall. Like you were mentioning earlier, the one thing is Tice went for a very aggressive strategy trying to target out those quest rogues. And as we can see from Bunny Hopper's lineup, he has essentially what is considered a kind of anti-control aggro lineup. It plays a lot of the other aggressive decks that are also very good against their aggressive counterparts. For instance, decks like the Even Shaman and the Odd Rogue.
That's very true. Yeah, this Even Shaman picked up some respect bans throughout the earlier days. And we also saw Kalento bringing Even Shaman. I guess he and Bunny Hopper had similar ideas on what to try and target. And I think this exact lineup from Tice is what Bunny Hopper might have had in mind.
Yeah, I think Bunny Hopper was kind of, hedge his bets a little bit. He wanted to be very strong against the other players, potentially bringing those aggressive decks, while also having a fairly strong chance against a lineup that contains something like Quest Rogue. It seems as if all of these decks, they are fairly strong against aggro, but they also have some game against some of the, anti-control lineups. I do say, however, both of these lineups struggle pretty hard if they do hit a control one. Fortunately for them, I believe there weren't that many control lineups throughout the entire tournament.
Very true. We saw in that previous graphic that all the classes except Warrior and Priest were represented, I think. And we saw that Rogue picked up the most bans. There might have been a Priest, that's my bad, but definitely no Warrior. And if there was a Priest, it didn't get banned. So you can see that throughout the tournament, Shamans actually had the highest win rate at nearly 65%, Druid and Paladin sitting at around 60%. And Hunter and Warlock also up there. Rogue, nowhere to be seen in the top 5, probably because people either banned it out or had a mind to target it with their lineups.
Yeah, I think with the reason Rogue has just been, underperforming a lot is just because it does have some of those bad matchups that we've been seeing.
Yeah, 100%. So if anyone is not aware, we've been hyping it up a lot, but the prize pool for this tournament is $250,000, the top prize being an Aston Martin. We know that Tice is probably in this not just to win the top prize, but also kind of avenge RDU, his teammate who fell earlier on. And because Tice and G2 are the ones organizing this whole English broadcast, I guess it would be natural to assume everybody's cheering for Tice now, but Bunny Hopper is a very worthy opponent, of course, the recent summer champion and one of the most storied players in EU.
Yeah, Bunny Hopper's success has been pretty prominent recently. He's a player that we've seen, a lot of players would know the name of Bunny Hopper, but, ever since that big, just tournament win with the Summer Championship, he's definitely been a player to just look out for more and more. Already qualified for Worlds, which is just a huge feat in and of itself. But, if there's any formidable opponent, it is in Tice. Tice is also, widely considered one of the strongest European players, as, he was kind of like, I like to say, the OG Hunter Ace, where he was just winning everything a couple years ago, and obviously took some time to focus on streaming and building a community. But, he's back, he's ready to play, and he's ready to, try and take home that beautiful car.
Yeah, absolutely. That is like a little shout out I wanted to mention since you mentioned Hunter Ace. He is the first 3-star master, but a lot of the guys in the tournament are not too far off from catching up, I would say. Anyway, we did see the bans coming in and both players' odd rogues are out of contention. I think it makes a lot of sense because both players also have Zoo, which the odd rogue can usually beat pretty consistently.
Yeah, odd rogue is one of the most efficient of those anti-aggro decks, as you do have access to SI7 Agent. You have access to Deadly Poison with your RD2 attack dagger that cleans up almost every single minion in both of these players' aggro lineups. So it definitely makes sense to, eliminate that factor from it and try and win through just beating the other aggressive decks. I think for Tice, however, what's going to struggle for him quite a bit is that Tempo Mage. Tempo Mage is a very solid deck when it hits something into anti-control territory, but when it goes up against other very aggressive decks, it can struggle quite a bit as it doesn't get onto the board fast enough.
Yeah, we did see in the graphic it has bad matchups across the board, and so I think Tice's reasoning is, all right, I gotta get this deck out of the way, and he queues it up first. That hand is not looking very good, though. Not a Mana Worm, but also not even an Arcanologist.
Yeah, it doesn't have those early game starts that he really wanted or needed. I'm a little curious. He did have the option to keep a Lunith. Tice probably thinks that this matchup is way more aggressive, so I like how he tossed away the Lunith. Sometimes, you can argue for keeping that card in almost every single matchup, but for this one, if they get something like Spellstone down with Wolves, it could just be game over there. So I think Tice needs a much faster hand than that.
Yeah, I really agree, especially with him being first. I think you kind of need to hard mulligan for a Mana Worm here. And as for Bunny Hopper, he doesn't have early minions of his own, but there's quite a lot of ways to mess with the mage because you are running a bunch of spells. Usually you can counter the counter spell pretty efficiently.
Yeah, not only that, but also, these secrets are just a pain for Tempo Mage to deal with. Things like Wandering Monsters just take such good trades into Mana Worms or Arcanologist, and even cards like, Venom Strike Trap, just producing more minions while not being minions themselves is very strong to play around cards like the Explosive Runes.
Yeah, now that you mention it, I feel like, especially with the possibility of the Spellstone Wolves coming down soon, this matchup might need to be carried by a Primordial Glyph for the Mage. Just because Tice hasn't picked up those early game, not necessarily win conditions, but things that you really need to kind of get the board in your favor.
Yeah, we see both of these players, I think obviously Bunny Hopper is getting the more beneficial aspect of, his hand right now. He will have some early game plays. Tice really needs to pick up something, because just using your hero power on turn 2 is not what you want to be doing. He really needed something like even a Mana Worm off curve there would have been much better than just fitting in a hero power.
Not only that, but I think Bunny Hopper can pick up a lot of information from Tice. Like, he can already rule out Mana Worms, Arcanologist, and Sorcerer's Apprentices. Tice would know that getting down any of these minions before the Hunter can play Secrets would be really beneficial. So Bunny Hopper knows that the hand from Tice is very slow, and he might take the opportunity to capitalize. Bear Shark is looking interesting, because if you know that Tice doesn't have any minions, perhaps he has some sort of removal, and Bear Shark is immune to almost all of those. It is kind of weird to coin out a 3-drop when you don't have another 3-cost minion, though.
Yeah, I really like the play of the Crackling Razor Maw here, because Bunny Hopper is going to expect that Tice's best play this turn is Kirin Secret, so he would rather get this minion down as quickly as possible. That way, not only does it not get hit by the Explosive Runes, but he can directly contest that Kirin Mage while saving onto the coin to be able to counter the counter spell. Bunny Hopper wants to have this coin as long as possible to make sure that this counter spell doesn't put in any work.
Yeah, that is true. Nowadays, Temple Mage only runs one counter spell, but it is worth considering, of course. And even if he is not going to use the coin for some kind of anti-counter spell play, it also curves out into a coin subject 9 after the Bear Shark will come down this turn. And I can't imagine anything else, because having seen no secrets from Tice, there's no fear of Explosive Runes, this Bear Shark could just chunk away at Tice's health total for the rest of the game.
Yeah, Bear Shark is one of those very scary cards. It's really good in a lot of matchups. I'm actually surprised, it hasn't, pushed the aggressive hunters more and more. I mean, typically we've seen the hunters become this very death rattle-oriented package, but just this being kind of like a larger fairy dragon that has that beast tag that curves out with Houndmaster, it is a pretty powerful card. Bunny Hopper will have to be careful, though, as to, how he wants to navigate playing other minions, because he will be very conscious of that possibility of the Cosmic Anomaly plus Shooting Star, but, that doesn't even matter because Bear Shark's already gone.
Yeah, that was a pretty fortunate Cinderstorm for Tice there, but honestly, I can't call it lucky from Tice with this hand that was so unlucky to begin with. So now Bunny Hopper is faced with the option of whether he wants to coin out a minion or start developing some secrets. Subject 9 will pull. Let me just take a quick look at the deck list and see which one of these are one-ofs. So we can pull Explosive, another Venom Strike Trap, Snake Trap. It's just a lot, right? I think you just go for it, thins your deck out, and helps you draw into Spellstone sooner eventually.
Yeah, the one thing is, you can remove all of these cards and constantly just keep developing secrets, but eventually at the end of the day, you're going to need to pressure your opponent, because Tice will be able to eventually burn Bunny Hopper out of the game if Bunny Hopper does not get some kind of board development. So getting rid of the coin, doesn't save it for the counter spell, but I don't think Bunny Hopper is too worried about that. He would rather get this minion on board, maybe force out some more reactive tools from Tice, while, like you said, thinning out the deck to draw that Spellstone quicker.
Tice goes with the play of fireballing away the subject 9. It's way too early to be thinking about saving your burn all for face here. I can see that the game plan from Tice is just, I haven't taken any damage. Maybe Alaneth can carry me from here on out. So that is going to be coming down next turn. And as for Bunny Hopper, I feel like he can maybe have kind of a read on an Alaneth there. Just going for Fireball seems a little bit reactive. So thinking about how he can set up into Tice's best play, which is that weapon. It's just a bunch of secrets, though.
That it is. I definitely like the development of the rat trap here. It wants to try and, put down minions that will allow, or spells that will allow Bunny Hopper to potentially get minions. As Tice, has not been playing too many cards from his hand, so that means that they're either very awkward, cheap spells that Tice wants to hold on to for certain situations, or it's just a lot of heavy burn that, Tice really can't afford to play yet. And then, since Bunny Hopper knows that there is a potential for an Alunith on 6, getting this rat trap down earlier means that he can, change up his plays a little bit and make sure that he gets that 6/6, as Tice will need to play multiple cards per turn.
Yeah, for sure. Tice will need to dump at least 2 cards next turn. Well, it's just going to be, at some point, he'll need to play 3 a turn just to make sure he won't overdraw. So Bunny Hopper finally picks up a cheap beast that he can use to pair with this Houndmaster here. It's a little bit off curve, but having no minions on Tice's board, I don't think you're very inclined to play any of the rest of these secrets, especially without having the Spellstone in your hand to be buffed yet.
Yeah, it is a bit off curve, but I don't think Bunny Hopper's too sad to see this, as it is a lot of power on the board. Just having that 3/5 ton, that 4/3 body, it demands some kind of respect from Tice. Tice does have a fairly decent answer in that Shooting Star with the Cosmic Anomaly if he decides to go for it. Doesn't quite clean up the Dire Maul, so Tice is probably going to be thinking, how does he navigate this in a way that he makes sure that Dire Maul is also dead, protecting the Cosmic Anomaly from dying initially on board.
Yeah, he can think about starting with Glyph. I don't think you play out Apprentice yet, even though technically you could fit in Cosmic Anomaly, Apprentice, Glyph, and the Shooting Star, just because Apprentice is so crucial later on when you're trying to end the game with one huge, big chunk of burst, and that means he'll also be wanting to save at least one of the anomalies later on. Also, I don't think this Luna is ever getting played for draw. Because of Alina's hand space issues. It's funny how that kind of works out, those 2 cards together.
Yeah, it is a little funny. It's almost like the Luna comes down earlier as like a mini Alunith in a way, but has a body that needs to be dealt with in some form or fashion, because you cannot let that card sit there. That card is too powerful. It's almost reminiscent of cards like Bran, Bronzebeard, or Fandral Staghelm, as they represent such a massive threat on the board that they have to be answered.
That's right. So Tice actually takes the Cone of Cold there. I was eyeing the Flame Strike, but because he hasn't seen the Spellstone yet, I guess Cone of Cold is just a cheaper way to stall out Bunny Hopper's board and maybe get to push some damage with minions once or twice. And honestly, just maybe 2 to 3 attacks with Cosmic Anomalies, and the Tempo Mage deck is just built to be able to burn out from that point. But because Bunny Hopper set up that Rat Trap and the 3 cards were played from Tice, he is now looking very solidly ahead on board.
Yeah, I think what Tice is trying to do here is just take some stall cards, as I don't believe his other options were any kind of burn or oriented spell, but takes the stall cards that way, eventually maybe he can stick a couple Mana Worms down, as he has not drawn those yet, hide them behind that, force Bunny Hopper to play very reactively, and eventually end the game with those Mana Worms and burn spell. Tice is also in, a fairly decent position, as long as he doesn't take too much damage and has, some kind of pseudo answer for something like the Spellstone, as Cosmic Anomaly plus Cone of Cold will be able to answer that quite cleanly.
That is a pretty cool combo. But speaking of not taking too much damage, we saw hesitation from Bunny Hopper at 27 health, nearly perfect health, already hesitating about whether he should take damage from that Cosmic Anomaly. And I think it's perfectly reasonable to take one hit with the Eagle Horn Bow, given that the mage is only on 8 mana and you have a lot of health. I think that keeping this Dire Maul alive one more turn will definitely help you in the long run to race the mage. So I like the play from Bunny Hopper. And now Tice might have to spend the Cone of Cold as early as now to delay this Rat Trap minion from going face.
Yeah, there's a couple different implications from leaving up that Dire Maul. Like you were mentioning earlier, it does allow, more consistent damage to be pushed every turn, but it also can potentially soak up some missile hits later on. I think that's on the back of Bunny Hopper's mind. I think it was more so just the fact that, it will be able to push extra damage through, hopefully, if there's no freeze effect from this Primordial Glyph. As we can see for Tice, though, he does have access to that freeze.
Right. And this is a pretty good usage here. It's making it so that if Bunny Hopper wants to clear off the Apprentice, then at least he'll still have one other minion on board. And it also means that Bunny Hopper will have to expend the last charge of his Eagle Horn Bow. At this point, I don't think it's likely that Tice's minions will ever be able to attack safely because there's a punish for everything in the form of Hunter Secrets. There's no snipe in the secret package for Bunny Hopper, so the consolation for Tice is that he can at least play out minions without fear. But I don't know if he'll ever have the opportunity to attack.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult to say. I do like this Mossy Horror here. It's kind of crazy to think that this card actually got a little bit of value in this matchup, because not only did it block the explosive runes, it also cleared off one of the minions.
Yeah, Luna, although you're not too scared of it drawing because it's redundant with Alaneth, is still a threat in that it can maybe proc one secret and clear a path for this Apprentice to hit face once. And Bunny Hopper, if I were him, I would definitely respect the Apprentice. It just makes so many scary things happen with Cosmic Anomaly and already being at 9 mana with a full hand for Tice. I think that it is worth losing your last bow charge on.
It's so difficult to say because you take that damage and you also, you forfeit over that bow, which is a consistent force of damage. I actually like the hold from Bunny Hopper here because I think that he may need to use this bow later on for removal or just to push that final bits of damage because he does have access to kill command for that 5 damage on top of, having that hero power going every turn. And these minions are never connecting face. Bunny Hopper's also already seen a Frostbolt and a Fireball, so he knows that the amount of burn is very, very limited.
I wouldn't call it very, very. Maybe it's. I could say that you probably wouldn't expect another Anomaly plus Shooting Star, so that is the most efficient way to clear off the board. And if you expect your board to live, then maybe you're not so scared of things like Cinderstorm. But yeah, maybe it's my caster vision talking, but this looks like the exact punish. And Tice is somehow able to turn the game on its head. He has the board control, he has Fireball, and it's going to draw 3 more cards. Bunny Hopper, without a good way to clear this, looks like Tice is just going to win very soon.
Yeah, Tice is going to. I think Bunny Hopper, he made a very bold call with that play, but I think in Bunny Hopper's mind, he thought through it and said, you know what, even if the Sorcerer's Apprentice is on the board or not, all of that were to have been able to be done that turn. And just the Kirin Tor would not have come down as it would have been, enough mana to cast all of those cards. So I think he was weighing out saying, the reduction doesn't matter that much, as if he has all of those cards in his hand currently, and it's not just a bunch of minions, as Tice's majority of the deck are minions left, then he can potentially win the game through applying that pressure. So, very bold, very risky play, but I think he kind of had to go for it because he was so behind.
Well, what do you think about starting with the Explosive Trap there? I feel like you should have triggered it with Snake Trap. I feel like Explosive is going to be more valuable to you in this game, so it at least prevents the Apprentice from going face. I guess he does still have other secrets that prevent going face, but I just don't see how the Snake Trap is ever getting value.
Yeah, I'm trying to see. The Explosive, I would have probably rather seen that onto the board as well. You're exactly right. The Explosive does clear off the 3-2. Bunny Hopper was probably thinking that he wanted to get the Wandering Monster down, as he does not want to take any face damage. So if he plays the Explosive, and then, let's say he plays the Snake Trap and triggers the Counterspell, then plays the Explosive, Bunny Hopper, Tice will be able to swing the Sorcerer's Apprentice in, both the Freezing and Explosive will go off, and then he won't exactly have any sort of way of killing off the 4-3. But I do see where, potentially having that Explosive is a little bit better. It's definitely a difficult call.
Yeah. So at first glance, my instinct is to maybe not attack all here at all because it's just triggering Bunny Hopper's secrets. And Tice, with enough pings, looks like he could get there. But we saw from that useful graphic that there's only actually one more burn spell left in the deck. I guess the Glyph could maybe get something. But Fireball and Frostbolt are the only damage left. So that would mean Tice would have to ping for 4 turns if he didn't intend on attacking. So I kind of like this board setup. It's also resistant to Rexar if it were to come off the top. So, oh, maybe it's not. It is, because you saw that the explosive trap was triggered, right, by the counter spell. So that's only a 1-of in the deck. So knowing that Bunny Hopper can't punish with something like Rexar plus explosive, all these 3 health minions will connect base at some point.
This is very true. So I wonder if, Bunny Hopper may should have gone with the line where you mentioned of, getting rid of that snake trap, because those snakes aren't really going to do much in the long run for Bunny Hopper, whereas that explosive may have been able to push through those bits of damage in the end. So I'm trying to, calculate right here. I think Bunny Hopper really needs something strong off this Wandering Monster if he wants any chance, but I'm not even sure if that's quite enough.
I don't think it will be most of the time. Even if you get the 2/8 taunt from Shaman, he has so much damage on board, Fireball, Frostbolt, and even a Glyph to maybe pick something else up. So I think this is just going to be game.
Yeah, I believe so as well. I believe if Bunny Hopper had kept that explosive, it wouldn't have made that much of a difference unless he were to have drawn into that Soccer Rexar that you were mentioning earlier. Sorry, I was drawing a blank on the card. It's a very, good card. I don't know how I forgot about it.
Yeah, no worries. So this is the moment of truth. What is the Wandering Monster? Not even a bloat back could have saved. Oh wait, that's 4 mana, right? I don't know. Is there anything that deals with the board on 3 mana? But anyway, Ty's gonna take the first game with a very, very awkward starting hand, but Aluneth is just such a beast in the matchup, and I honestly think that might have been a little mistake from Bunny Hopper there with the explosive trap being used to check for the counter spell. So he's gonna have to shake that one off, but there's still a lot more Hearthstone to be played, and in terms of lineups, he's still looking pretty favored with that even Shaman.
Yeah, I do think so as well. I think Bunny Hopper is still, in a pretty decent position. I don't think he's too beat up about that. I do think he was making some very, heads-up critical thinking. For instance, we were questioning a little bit on that Sorcerer's Apprentice turn, but I really liked how he, had some restraint there, because he really recognized that most of Tice's deck left over was just minions, and minions aren't really going to do anything, as he will have those secrets to kind of contest them constantly. Tice really needed the last couple of spells in his deck to be able to answer that board state, and fortunately for Tice, he did have that and capitalized on it just very powerfully.
That is true. So it was just one more turn before Tice was going to go to Fatigue there, and you take immediately 4 in total Fatigue ticks from the Aluneth if you count end of turn plus the draw you take on the next turn. So if Bunny Hopper had held on one more turn there, I think Tice was done for. But anyway, that's all in the past now, and just want to talk about the rest of the lineup. If you guys missed the graphic a while ago, both players are playing Zoo and Odd Rogue, although the Odd Rogues have been banned. And the standout deck from the lineup from Tice, I would say, is this Malygos Druid. It looks kind of out of place with these board-based aggressive decks. Well, I guess you can't really call it Tempo Mage board-based, but it is slower. Yet it's been putting in some work.
Yeah, it is much slower, but I think the addition of that Dream Petal Florist inside of Tice's list, something that I was, talking to RDU a little bit about, is that the reason they put it in is because it helps out the Quest Rogue matchup quite a bit, and they actually make it sounds like it's almost favored in a way, because you can reduce that Malygos, get it down on the board quickly, and do some very crazy shenanigans with the swipes and the Moonfires and the Forbiddenest Flute. So I really like this version of Malygos Druid, as it does help against other aggressive decks and is very strong at being, essentially a burn deck. I like to think of every deck as a aggro deck at heart. So, whenever you can play a Malygos and just start shipping spells at your opponent, that's a good deck to me.
Even Odd Warrior's kind of an aggro deck when your opponent's fatiguing, right? And then you just deal 6, 7, 8 damage to them every turn. That's gotta be aggro.
Exactly. See, now you're on the now we're on the same page, Gia. Every deck's an aggro deck.
Well, if there's one thing I know for sure, there's not much more effective aggro than aggressively ramping, and Tice has just the hand to do that. Although Bunny Hopper has pretty decent start himself, Flame Imp is looking pretty juicy here. If he picks up something like a Happy Ghoul quite soon, that might be just the hand to try and combat the near perfect hand from Tice with Wildgrowth Nourish, and also Spellstone as an emergency. removal spell.
Yeah, Tice just has an insanely good start here. Having, just the ramp he needs, the draw, the even more ramp, and then also having that Spellstone, being able to clear off this Flame Imp, because part of the reason Zoo has a very strong start or can, win this matchup pretty consistently is because it has those Flame Imp starts where they just kind of play a couple Flame Imps and then just keep chucking away damage. But as Tice has that answer and it's going to be followed up by the ramp, it's not looking too good for Bunny Hopper right here. He's going to need to pick up something pretty powerful.
Yep. The Zoo versus Malygos Druid matchup has been widely argued about who's actually favored, and most of the time it comes down to the Druid having several cards that they need to get together. It's either some kind of Plague into Swipe to clear up the rest type of board, or just getting the super early round and then being able to UI, at which point the Zoo just isn't able to come back. And Bunny Hopper has missed an early Happy Goal start. He also doesn't have Keleseth, so these little minions look like they're not going to be getting too much work done, but setup of Light Warden with double Voodoo Doctor behind it could be a bit scary for Tice.
Yeah, I think Bunny Hopper is getting a little... he's thinking long and hard on these turns, and I think he wants to make sure he gets this Light Warden down, because he may very well need this Light Warden to essentially carry him, as he doesn't really have much he's working with right now, but he's already seen one of the Spellstones, so most of the time there's no very strong way to answer this Light Warden outside of something like a second Spellstone or Hero Power Moonfire, and if they naturalize something because it gets out of control, then you're kind of happy with that, especially if it's a 1-drop.
I think Bunny Hopper is very scared of Swipe coming out, especially if he plans to double buff the Light Warden. All of his minions have 1 health, so I wouldn't even be surprised to see one of this. Oh, okay. Now we're talking. I heard the audience react a little bit there.
That was the best draw in Bunny Hopper's deck right now. I think he's thinking about whether he wants to, maybe buff up this Light Warden with extra attacks, or if he just wants to get a 4-3 on the board. And I definitely like getting that Voodoo Doctor to become a 4-3. Yeah. And this is looking really good for Bunny Hopper right now, especially because Tice does not have Swipe.
Yeah, that is a little bit more Swipe-proof because he used the Soul Infusion there. But funnily enough, even with this really great Zoo start from Bunny Hopper, I don't know if it's going to be enough. Just having the capability to coin Plague next turn, or it depends if he wants to Nourish this turn, but I really don't think so. You won't know if you want to ramp or draw with this Nourish. Okay, it looks like he is just going to go for that then.
Yeah, I'm a little curious as to this ramp play. I think I would have much rather had seen the Twig come out and potentially just put a swing onto the face. Yeah. Because next turn you can go for a coin Spreading Plague and try and use that Nourish either later on for ramp if you pick up an Ultimate Infestation in the next couple coming turns, or if you need to draw for some outs. Tice has, some plan in mind with going for this. It's most likely that Tice is worried about something, large hitting the board this turn, or just something buffing something else up. That way he can go Spreading Plague, Naturalize. So I think that's what Tice's head is at, is that he wants to go Spreading Plague, Naturalize to kind of guarantee that his 1/5s live.
I'm not too sure about it, because the turn I'd be scared of something big hitting the board is when the Zoo has 5 mana because of Fungal Master and Despicable Dreadlord. I just feel like this play strands the Twig in hand now for... Oh, okay. Mind Control Tech is a possibility, but it has to be Plague here. Mind Control Tech can get some work done later on. I wonder if Tice feels so pressured that he has to naturalize away the Light Warden already.
He may very well have to, because such a difficult call. I don't think Tice wants to naturalize such a small target, especially because, it gives Bunny Hopper more draws for something like a Doomguard or something, like a Fungalmancer that can just kind of tear into the board state. So we see Tice had this plan in mind where he just wanted to go for the Spreading Plague into the Naturalize, just, fitting out very well with his upcoming turns.
Oh, and he actually chooses to remove the biggest minion on board, although I don't really want to call it a punish because after this Fungal Mancer comes down, the Light Warden can still be cleared off by 2 Scarabs. Although, yeah, I'm not too sure about it. I feel like having the Fungal Mancer heal up a 4/3 in effect is as threatening as no matter how much attack this Light Warden would be, because it can get 3 attacks in to the Scarabs as opposed to the Light Warden, which only has 2 health. In any case, Bunny Hopper also has the capability to play another Happy Ghoul after having seen the Plague. This is some refill if I've seen it.
Yeah, this is looking fairly decent for Bunny Hopper here. He will have, you know, a fairly okay way to get through this Plague if he chooses to, you know, commit onto that Fungal Enchanter. But I think he wants to develop more minions first, and then eventually get to the point where he can take a bunch of value trades and then make this Light Warden absolutely massive.
Yeah, that's very true. I actually really like this. The chain gangs protect the Light Warden, and then it makes it so that it can take another hit onto the beetles, and then you can heal the Light Warden, and then it can kill another 2 more. But now Tice has the room to play mind control tech here. There are, I'd say, anything but the Voodoo Doctor is a welcome sight. Light Warden, of course, would be the best. Oh, ooh, there you go.
Hits the Light Warden. That was the best take from Tice there. That's very fortunate for him, as he would have had a very difficult time trying to answer that in the next couple turns, as he might just have to nourish for an answer, and Bunny Hopper would eventually just kind of gotten through that Plague. I mean, Bunny Hopper also is running a copy of Mossy Horror that would have cleared off the majority of his own board, but would have helped him a lot in this, you know, particular situation.
Oh, I'm actually pretty surprised to see that Tice takes the time to trade into one of the Saronite chain gangs. I feel like this would have been the same around Mossy Horror, and I don't think you can adequately play around Fungal Mancer by just removing 1 minion. So I feel like that might have been doing some of Bunny Hopper's work for him. I'm unsure.
I think the one thing killing off that token does is it allows for less Fungal Enchanter shenanigans, or potentially something like a Fungal Mancer as well. I don't know if Fungal Mancer would obviously come onto that minion as one of the targets, but I think that's what Tice was trying to think, is trying to, you know, limit Bunny Hopper's options in the next couple, you know, coming of turns.
So the awkward thing is that this Fungal Enchanter is going to make that Light Warden absolutely monstrous. So he might think that this is not even the turn to go for the Fungal Enchanter. But having picked up some Soulfires, I think it gives him the license to... Okay, starts with a Mind Control tech with the possibility of discarding the other Soulfire.
Yeah, I think he went for doing that because he knows the Light Warden would be forced to go through the Saronite Chain Gang, whereas the Mind Control tech would be able to take a value trade. And with the pickup of Ultimate Infestation there, this is looking pretty good for Tice now. Can even go ahead and draw 3, see what he draws from that, maybe get that twig going as well. This is looking like it's about to be Tice's game.
Yeah, I want to go back and look at Bunny Hopper's turn again. He did rope before playing that Solarium, or it took a lot of time. So when the new cards were drawn, he hardly had any time to think about it. I wonder if there was some kind of room to maybe fit in the Fungal Enchanter before playing Soulfires. I think he still would have had the mana to fit in Fungal Enchanter and both Soulfire. Of course, that makes it more likely that one Soulfire discards the other Soulfire. But if you can target the Light Warden with 1, then you can also get down at least 1 Happy Ghoul, depending on where the Soulfire charge lands on. I mean, discard. So, I don't know. A little bit sketchy, but Tice definitely looks like he has this game. He's at 27, and the refill is coming.
Yeah, it's a very difficult call to make, especially as Bunny Hopper was trying to think of, you know, all the potential draws from that Solarium, and, you know, the rope started to burn, so it was coming down to the wire there, and he had to make some decisions. So I think he just tried to make those decisions as quickly as possible with, you know, the cards that he had. So you really can't blame Bunny Hopper sometimes, because when that rope comes up, I don't know about you, Gia, but I get panicky. I start to get into panic mode, and I just start playing cards.
Yeah, I know the feeling for sure. Bunny Hopper there just trying to make the best play that he could and hope that there was no UI, but Tice, of course, no hesitation in playing that. And I wouldn't be surprised to see a concede come out from Bunny Hopper.
Yeah, you never know, though. Maybe Tice decides to draw into, I don't know, non-druid cards somehow. I guess there's always that possibility.
It just fits in a Togwaggle somewhere.
It's just, and even then, I think Tice is still probably in the driver's seat here. There's not really much that Bunny Hopper can do. He can try and make some kind of board state here and hope it sticks. But Tice just has a plethora of options in order to deal with that. And, Bunny Hopper is getting pretty low. If Malygos and a couple other burn spells get found pretty quickly, I mean, this is just game over. I mean, I think it's game over already, but you never know.
Yeah, I would agree. Tice has the option to go for this Spellstone to clear the Tar Creeper. He could have gone for Plague and Branching Paths. That's always my go-to play to try and tell the zoo, you have no more chance, please concede, let's get on with ladder. But I guess Tice was looking for something in particular with the Ferocious Howl. You can't
also think if
Spellstone and swipe or Wrath and clear up most of the board, if not all. So
yeah, I think if you're Tice here, he's really trying to set up a way to set up some kind of 2-turn lethal. So I think he was thinking about whether he commits, Branching Paths for attack, just kind of clean these minions up. Because if we look right now, Bunny Hopper is currently at 18 health. There's no more healing in the deck because I believe both of the Fungal Enchanters and both the Voodoo Doctors are gone. There might be one more Fungal Enchanter or there might be a Life Trigger if Bunny Hopper does play it. I don't think he does. But there is that possibility. And Tice just has a lot of burn in his hand, so I wouldn't be surprised to see this, Ghoul just hit face just so that, he kind of tries to end this game as quickly as possible because he knows Bunny Hopper is going to be tapping each turn.
Yeah. The zoo list from Bunny Hopper is a bit interesting. I think it's a bit more tech towards anti-aggro. So he has 1 Tar Creeper, double Despicable Dreadlord, 1 Blood Knight, and no Life Drinkers. So this might not be the matchup he was hoping to hit with that, with the Tar Creeper, I mean. Although Despicable is pretty good against Druid.
You see there, Bunny Hopper is forced to get very aggressive here, and I believe that is just lethal coming out from Tice. Sees it immediately, and Tice is going to take game number 2.
Yeah, and already going up to a quick 2-0 lead, although in this history of the tournament, I don't think that can say that somebody is safe. We've seen so many reverse sweeps come out, especially during the first few days of the tournament. So I'm sure the Tice fans are happy to see this, but Bunny Hopper has a fighting chance, only has to deal with this zoo from Tice himself, but 3 times.
Yeah, dealing with Zulak 1 time is already, pesky enough. When you have to deal with Zulak 3 times, it's going to be quite the uphill battle for Bunny Hopper. Bunny Hopper does have access to some pretty decent decks against the zoo, however. I think the Even Shaman has a very, fairly good percentage into the Zoo Warlock, as it does have cards like that Mudspurk Eel and the, just tempo swings from minions. With the Hunter, I think, Flanking Strike is a very powerful card in that matchup, as it allows you to just kind of keep the tempo on your side. However, the one thing is, though, Bunny Hopper is not running Flanking Strike. He is running the Bear Shark instead. So that's one big factor that I think is it might actually play a huge role, as the reason Hunter, for the most part, had a fairly solid and decent matchup against Zulak is just because it had access to cards like Flanking Strike when followed up by Secrets. But with Bunny Hopper not having that, I think it's going to make a big difference.
Yeah, I completely agree. Zoo historically has been weak to things like weapons and things like Flanking Strike, which not only removes something but puts something on board, all because of the massive tempo swing that it's able to provide. So Hunter has one of those pieces with the Eagle Horn Bow, but the Secrets just aren't going to do that much when played individually, because Explosive Trap can only clear a handful of minions from Zoo, not to mention if they play Keleseth, it can clear nearly nothing at all. So it could be quite an uphill battle. But I do like, as you mentioned, the chances of this Even Shaman. It reminds me of mid-range Shaman back in the day, but without the brokenness, just because you start out with a curve and then you have board removal also.
Yeah, and it looks like Bunny Hopper is just going to go ahead and queue up that even shaman first. I'm not sure. Did you see any even shaman on your first day of casting? Because I believe even shaman, for the most part, unless it was Kalento's game, has been banned out from Bunny Hopper.
No, I didn't. I don't think anybody brought it to the 2 groups that I cast on day 1. But you're right that it has picked up a ton of bans. So a lot of people respect the power of the Merc Spark Eel, I gotta say. It's just so powerful. It's like a body that comes with a backstab.
That's pretty powerful now that you put it that way. I mean, SI7 agent, you have to combo, and it has less stats, or it has more stats, but it's 3 mana.
Yeah, the stats per mana is just the same as the vanilla minions you would get with Merc Spark Eel, but also you get that powerful early game effect. And I think it's with that reasoning that Tice is not hard mulliganing for Flame Imp and something like that. The Voidwalker is actually a bit more threatening in the sense that it can survive 1 proc of the Merc Spark Eel.
Oh, this is a rough call for Tice here, as he would love to, you're playing with a very double-edged sword with both of these 1-drops. If you play out the Voidwalker, it gets very easily contested by something like this Acidic Swamp Ooze. But if you play out the Kobold Librarian, it gets pretty contested by this Vicious Scalehide. So it's kind of you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't kind of play there, as you're not quite sure what you want to go for. What do you think you're going to be weaker to?
Definitely a catch-22. And let me tell you something, those 2 minions that you mentioned are both 1-ofs in the deck for Bunny Hopper. So that is quite unfortunate, I guess, is what Tice is thinking. But later he'll find out that he would have been kind of in a bad spot the other way around too. It might be that he even just goes for the Soul Infusion to make a 3/5 Voidwalker. I don't mind it at all.
Yeah, I do like this, especially, having that Voidwalker held back with the draw of that Soul Infusion. This is one of those starts that, gives Zoo a lot of game against the Even Shaman. And one of the reasons why, sometimes Zulak just can take wins out of nowhere from matchups it may not necessarily be the strongest against. Especially because when you play a 2-mana Tar Creeper without any downside, I'd play that card in almost all my decks.
Yeah, I totally agree. This early extending of 1 card for not the maximum value, I guess, is making it so that Bunny Hopper will not be able to take value trades with any of his minions. So Tice will at least be able to clear off 1 thing at a time. And the way that even Shaman is able to wrest control of the board in the early game is to stick 1 or 2 things and then milk the value off of Flame Tongue Totem. So if they don't have the minions, they're forced to go to their plan B, which is just survive until Hagatha and then play out bigger minions.
Yeah, Bunny Hopper was just thinking long and hard there. He wanted to, try to convince himself not to play this Acidic Swamp Ooze into that, it's not a Void Walker, it's not a Void Lord, it's a Void... What would you call that? It's not a Void Walker,
Creeper.
It's not a Void...
There you go.
There we go. That's a perfect name for it. Into this Void Creeper, because Tice has a sweet value trade and then can heal it back up with the Fungal Enchanter. But Tice, I don't think he gets greedy here playing the Doubling Imp. I think you just kind of take how good this value trade was.
Yeah, I agree. Even though you don't get the Happy Ghoul, just being able to put this Voidwalker out of the range of, I was going to say, Merc Spark Eel or even a Flame Tongue Totem coming down now is just making it so that Bunny Hopper doesn't have any options. He will be forced to play all his minions in response from now on. And as long as Tice is wary of things like Sea Giant and not playing too hard into Hagatha when the time comes, he could have pretty solid control of the board for the rest of the game.
Yeah, very heads up by Tice, just not, getting too greedy, understanding that he just wants to go ahead and make the most out of those cards. Your Bunny Hopper here, I think you just have to get the Eel down just to put something else on the board and hope that Tice doesn't have any kind of strong follow-up. But as we can see, if Tice wants to do so, he could Solarium, just try and find some 1-drops to spam the board, or he could just play Doubling Imp and kind of call it a day at that as well.
So at least the good thing about the Merc Spark Eel, if it goes onto the Voidwalker, it makes it so that it will most likely die next turn because he rolled the Searing Totem. He has now enough attack power and split out across 3 minions so that Tice can't actually clear everything. But he picked up a heal card, so...
Yeah, that Voodoo Doctor draw was really good for Tice here. It just keeps getting better and better as his start is very explosive. We'll be able to Voodoo Doctor up that Void Creeper in order to take some value trades.
Tice just has to be wary that Sea Giant is going to be active pretty soon, so it looks like he might trade off 2 minions and then put 1 more down. So Sea Giant will cost 4 next turn. It's playable.
That is true. Maybe Tice is trying to be conscious of that. Maybe that's how he feels he loses this game, but it looks like Tice is just going to go ahead and play that out. I believe it is, like you said, castable no matter what, but does Tice care too much about that? I mean, look how much pressure he has on the board.
I think you have to respect not just Sea Giant, but also Flame Tongue possibly coming down.
Oh, for sure. I definitely like the trades. I just don't think he really cares too much about this Sea Giant. He can just go ahead and, keep going in because he has such a wide board state that Shaman's going to have an issue dealing with.
Yeah, because this isn't even lock. Even though they play a Giant, they can't follow it up with something like Defile. It's just going to be forced to start trading at some point. But I don't see an argument for going for Corpse Taker instead, because it's just going to eat less attacks than the Sea Giant would anyway. And he can also fit in a hero power if you play Sea Giant.
Yeah, I really like the Sea Giant here. I think it's the only viable play for Bunny Hopper. He's just trying to think, is there any reason not to play this Sea Giant? But I definitely think he's going to go for it with the hero power and then try and pass his turn. For Tice next turn, he's going to have an interesting decision between whether he wants to just play out that Doomguard to get such pressure on the board state, or does he want a Solarium to try and find, some other answers or some other cards, maybe to potentially deal with the Sea Giant, like Soulfires? It's definitely a tough call.
Yeah. I think if you're scared that you won't be able to remove the Sea Giant, Doomguard doesn't seem like a hugely beneficial play on board, because as long as Bunny Hopper can clear the Void Creeper, then the Sea Giant can take a good value trade onto the Doomguard. So I kind of like this from Tice. He also picks up a Fungal Enchanter, so he can take even more value trades if he likes. And yeah, it's looking pretty scary for Bunny Hopper.
Tice's Solarium was insane there, not only being able to heal up the majority of his minions with that second Fungal Enchanter, but also just gets the Light Warden in order to make it just so powerful on the next coming turns. I mean, it's how much is it going to heal? It's going to gain, to a 5/2? That's insane.
I think even more because of this value.
Oh, that's right. I love that play from Tice.
Oh, yeah. Well,
so what Tice did there is actually hit with the Voodoo Doctor first in order to give the Scale High the attack, in order to buff the Light Warden up even further. That was a great play from Tice.
That is really cute. I didn't even spot that, the lifesteal. And Tice, he's not even damaged himself, but he didn't need to heal himself to get this Light Warden to be a 9/2, big enough to contest the Sea Giant and Bunny Hopper. All he can do is try to hope to survive until the Mossy Horror, but even the Mossy is not going to clean very much up.
Oh, and rolling the totem gets him the healing totem to buff this Light Warden even more. I think the one decent thing for Bunny Hopper is because the Scale Hide's out of the deck, this minion won't have lifesteal. So, fortunately for him, it won't get too much.
He's dead, right? 17, 19. Yeah, with the Doomguard, it's just lethal. You trade into because of no lifesteal. But if there was lifesteal, then the Light Warden would pretty much just cancel it outright. So I guess it was dead either way.
Yeah, Bunny Hopper having none of that. Said, you know what, Tice, take it 3-0. And Tice is moving on to your top 4. That was just a very impressive series.
Yeah, that was very clean play and a really great showing from Tice. The only thing I wasn't too sure about was the use of Nourish in that one game as Malagos Druid. Personally, I would have gone for like a Twig and then Coin Plague play. But other than that, I'm sure Tice fans in chat are happy to see that the order of the channel is moving on towards the top 4. And next up, we will be deciding another Europe versus Europe match. Oh no, never mind. It's Orange versus X Hope, but not before we get a quick interview with Tice.
Yeah, I think Tice is going to be interviewing shortly.
Any highlights you wanted to point out from that series, Dr. J?
I think there's no particular highlights for me. I think what happened is you kind of saw some of the flaws of some of the, I would say, not as powerful decks. For instance, I'm not a huge fan of that Secret Hunter. Yeah, they were doing that the other day, and I thought it was so funny. Just lights out, you're gone. Get him out of here.
Go home.
Go back to Europe. Just pack your bags.
You cannot drive home. Not that you would have been able to anyway.
You're not driving this car home, don't you? But I thought it was pretty good series. I do think Tice was slightly unfavored going into that just because of how the lineups panned out. But I think he played it well overall, and he is one step closer to what I think the chat would call his car.
Yes, the Aston Martin, haha. But anyway, I also wanted to recall that I kind of got a little baited by those graphics that they put out at the beginning. They're like, oh, this Hunter is favored against everything, and Texas Mage is unfavored against everything. But that doesn't necessarily reflect on the way the series actually pans out, because if the deck just wins once, it doesn't matter how many decks it's unfavored against. And on the flip side, if the Hunter just wins once, it doesn't matter if it's favored against the other 3 decks. So I don't know the proper way to try and calculate those, but one thing I do know is that Tice has got to be really proud that he gets to go to the final day, which is tomorrow.
Yeah, Tice is just 2 more games away from taking home that Aston Martin. And, I do think that's got to put quite a bit of pressure on Tice, as, all of his, community and fans are watching him as, he is broadcasting this onto his channel. So I think he's got a bit of pressure on him, but so far, he's been holding it up pretty well, showing why he was, one of the greatest players and, still may be one of the greatest players to have played Hearthstone.
Yeah, Tice still got it. So speaking of people who still got it, the era of Tice was also marked by the era of Oskaka, if I remember. And Oskaka has kind of been showing up recently on Ladder, I guess, and tweeting. So it's kind of nice to see that sort of the old gods of Hearthstone are making another run into the competitive scene.
Yeah, it is a little crazy to see. It's actually funny because before coming on to cast this, I was talking to Pavel a little bit. Pavel fell off quite, just a little bit there, and I believe he was messaging me asking about, how many games did you play last season? What do you think gets a top 25? This and that. But I think we're gonna hear from Tice about how he felt about that series.
大家好，我是 Frozen。
好，那我们先恭喜一下太子成功获胜了。那接下来先让我们太子和大家一起来打个招呼。
Introduce yourself, please.
你好，我是 Tice。
好，那我们在这个之前啊，太子上场之前，有工作人员跟大家说，现场来了很多他的粉丝朋友。太子回答的是 "I hope so"， 我希望现场的观众朋友们再一次用你们掌声和欢呼声来回应太子，告诉他们你们就是来支持他的。好的，那我们第一个问题要问到太子，想问一下他作为第一个进入到4强的欧洲选手，现在的心情怎么样？
As the first player to make top 4, how do you feel?
It feels amazing. I prepared quite hard for the tournament. I don't play many tournaments anymore, so when I play a tournament, I really want to do well. So I'm very happy that it pays off here.
他说非常非常高兴，因为他不怎么打比赛了，所以他对每一个比赛都非常非常珍惜。然后他这次拿到4强，非常非常高兴。
那我想问一下，其实，在对阵到 Bunny Hopper 的时候，他的卡组是有点劣势的。当他为什么会第一个选择出战的是奥秘法这样的一个劣势卡组呢
So you're a little unfavored versus Bunny Hopper's lineup. Why did you decide to first start with Tempo Mage?
There's not much behind what I first pick. I want to switch it up, so sometimes I start with the best deck, sometimes I start with the weakest deck. It's just that I don't want to give my opponent a read. But yeah, the mage, it was I was very happy with the matchup as well. I knew the hunter is one I cold beat, so when I went 1-0 up with the mage, I started to feel very well.
他说他1-0赢下节奏法那一把以后，就感觉非常非常稳了啊。他 对于顺序来讲，他是随机上的，因为他不想要让对手可以猜测到他的卡主上法。
好了，非常感谢太子的分享，再次恭喜他成功晋级。好了，那么我们要请太子留在场上，因为接下来将会有一个太子为我们抽出的黄金公开赛3亚站的亚特兰蒂斯酒店的一个现场的幸运观众的名额。
So we're gonna have you draw a spot for the next Gold Series tournament for a member in the audience.
Okay. Good luck.
Good luck.
祝大家好运。
好，那接下来有请我上我们的这个休克尔来拿上我们的抽奖箱，来有请。我想问一下 ，What's your which one is your lucky number? Lucky number
12.
12.
It is.
我们看到是80号，有在现场吗？80号，来，请站起来，在吗？哇，是一位，真的非常开心。今天我们看到第一位已经是成功的获得到的是2018黄金公开赛第28站3亚战绩黄金公开赛5周年的第一个免费入住亚特兰蒂斯酒店的机会，再次恭喜到这位。好的，那我们今天的这个第一轮的采访和我们的现场抽奖已经是全部结束了，我们非常期待接下来的比赛。
So that was just the series between Tice and Bunny Hopper, where Tice became the first player to move on to the top 4 of EU versus CN. Coming up next, we have Orange versus X-Hope, and later on today, we have Kalento versus Shouty and Fury Hunter versus AA3650. Just gonna be a quick break, guys. Don't go anywhere, and we'll be back soon.
大家好，我是芒，目前就职于网易暴雪，主要负责星际争霸相关的一些工作。作为一名暴雪的游戏粉，能在这里工作是一件非常幸福的事儿。我记得我玩的第一款暴雪游戏是《星际争霸1》，当时我还在读小学。暴雪游戏一直陪伴我的成长，当然在里面我最喜欢的还是《星际争霸2》。当我看见 Sky 在 WCG 上拿下《魔术争霸3》的世界冠军的时候，我就心中埋下了一个种子，就特别希望能像他一样成为《星际争霸2》的一个世界冠军，所以就为此努力的去练习，然后参加了很多《星际2》的比赛。
称霸高校赛，免费上大学。
在2015年的时候，我参加了我大学生涯的最后一届高校训练赛，当时稍有遗憾，最后是拿了成都赛区的《星际争霸2》的亚军。我逐渐认识到自己可能并不适合成为一名职业选手。但我觉得这个梦想不能因此就这样放弃了。我记得2013年的时候，我第一次在线下观看了高校新人赛《星际争霸2》的西南区决赛，当时那场线下的观看给我留下了非常深刻的印象，因为我第一次发现原来能坐在观众席和其他的这些都热爱星际的玩家一起去看这样的比赛，一起加油，一起呐喊，是非常让人激动的一件事儿。所以我当时就在想，如果我可以作为一个组织者，能够去办更多这样线下的比赛，那会不会能够让更多人体验到星际争霸的乐趣？实现梦想的方式也并不仅限于我成为一名职业选手这一条路。 当我一腔热血的来到上海以后，我的梦想当然是能够加入网易暴雪，从事星际争霸相关的工作。但是由于当时我可能资历的欠缺也好，或者说工作经验也是有所欠缺，所以并不具备直接能进入网易暴雪的条件。所以我就开始尝试各种跟赛事相关的一些工作，包括兼职的 OB， 还有裁判。对当时的我来说，能够去做跟星际争霸2相关的一些工作，积累更多的一些赛事方面的经验，就是一件非常开心的事儿。因为我觉得这样的话，离我的梦想我又更进一步了。后来在2017年7月的时候，一次偶然的机会，我终于收到了来自网易暴雪的橄榄枝，投了一下简历，结果没想到第2天就收到了面试的通知。面试之后嘛，当然有人确认可以来，我就光速离职，然后来了报道了。这样，在开心的同时，我也深深地感受到了中国星际的不易，所以我也是希望能够通过自己的努力，能让更多的人感受到星际争霸2的魅力，这也是我一直以来的初心。从一名星际争霸的爱好者，到最后成为官方星际争霸的赛事负责人，这一路是非常曲折的，也是走了非常多的弯路的。所以我在这里呢，也是想跟大家分享一下我个人的一些经验和建议。首先呢，你得热爱这款游戏，我觉得这是最根本的。第一步，你得关注这款游戏的各种各样的大赛，然后呢，你得去参加这些比赛，你要切身的去感受一下比赛的每一个环节。第3步呢，你可以尝试着去组织一些比赛，参加你们学校的电竞社团，这样你可以收获很多的比赛组织相关的经验。我相信还有很多同学和我一样热爱暴雪游戏，并且想要加入网易大家庭。那么现在你们的机会来了，暴雪游戏高校新联赛招募计划已经开启，我仅代表电竞实习生在这里向广大的在校生发出邀请，参加暴雪游戏高校新联赛，和我一起实现你们的电竞职业之梦吧。
Hello， 大家好，我是 HEARTHSTONE， 我是一位炉石职业选手。玩炉石传说之前，我其实有挺多兴趣爱好，不过在玩炉石之后，我最大的兴趣爱好就是炉石传说。我上大学的时候，其实还挺喜欢看书啊，然后踢足球啊，或者下象棋啊这些。然后当时暴雪出了一款新的游戏，还是卡牌类的游戏。我就跟几个小伙伴，然后就去玩了玩，一玩就发现特别好玩，一入暴雪门，不会游戏生嘛。我参加高校新联赛的话，应该是在15年左右吧。然后我大3的时候，我就看到了就是这种就在自己学校附近的比赛。当时的很多国内的俱乐部都在做炉石嘛，我想如果我打到了全国第1，我就去打职业。但是最后，决赛的时候输了，只得到第2名，没有能够参加全国总决赛，比较可惜。打了2次高校新联赛之后，我就感觉自己好像还可以，就想要成为一名职业选手。我一般在下午回宿舍之后就开始训练，每天打到个凌晨2、3点吧，然后在7点半早上起来去做实验吧，还是挺累的。我一直坚信，只要比别人多一分努力，少睡1、2个小时，你一定会比别人变得更强。我一开始跟父母说起我想成为一名电子竞技的职业选手，我爸爸的话会比较反对我，而且他们也是之前有让我读托福啊。
当时说了以后呢，我们心里也很纠结，因为不了解这个行业，就觉得这个打游戏好像和不务正业似的，觉得在亲戚朋友面前说起来，那你儿子是干什么的？那我们怎么说呢？就说打游戏啊。
其实他反对的最大的原因是因为他对这个行业根本就不了解。我就搜集了很多关于电子竞技的东西，3个月吧，然后他总算是同意让我自己先去玩1年试试。如果有天赋的话，那你就可以继续玩；如果没有天赋的话，那就该干啥干啥去。 我的压力也非常大。现在每次在参加大比赛之前嘛，我都会做还挺多的准备吧。首先是在比赛分组出来之后嘛，我就会去看一下我对手的以往比赛的录像，或者是他平时直播的录像，然后去了解他们的打牌风格，找不同的朋友来陪你练你对手的卡组，因为你总要适合不同风格的打法。努力和赛前准备才是一个比赛获胜最关键的部分。
他我是一个性格非常温和的人，然后我可以随便开他玩笑，他也不会生气。
他重视的比赛，他还是会就是备战挺认真的，会把自己状态调整到最好吧，包括在作息时间上的调整，然后包括在卡组上的调整。
因为他知道自己是没有这样
全员打脸就直接照打脸。 让我们恭喜他扣破，
成为2017年中欧对抗赛的冠军。
他曾经2次杀入黄金系列赛的决赛，却与冠军失之交臂。从小组赛一路走来，或许他从不被人看好，但是这一刻，他用执着和努力兑现了自己的冠军誓言。
在中欧夺冠的时候，我是非常激动，就感觉，一个比赛终于打完了，而且这次比赛打完是没有遗憾的结束，感觉之前做的一切努力都没有白费。感谢暴雪爸爸和网易妈妈，感谢他们创造出了《炉石传说》这一款这么好玩的游戏，它也是帮我实现了成为一名职业选手的梦想。我想对同样喜欢暴雪游戏的同学们说，只要你努力，只要你喜欢这个游戏，给自己一个机会，我觉得你也能成功。
恭喜 X Hope，
恭喜 OM 川厚普，
恭喜一下 X Hope 赢下了这场比赛。
高奥新年赛招募计划正式启动，快来跟我一起实现我们的职业之梦。Hello， 大家好，我是 LP 战队的查后。中欧对抗赛，在我职业道路上的影响是，它是我打职业以来获得的第一个大型比赛的冠军嘛。虽然之前的，成绩还不错，但是总是一些第2、第3名之类的。然后，那次冠军让我更加坚定了对炉石职业的想法，然后，让我在炉石职业的道路上勇往直前。我觉得新版本的卡组的话五花八门吧，就是各种职业都可以用，然后百花齐放，我比较喜欢。然后其中最喜欢的应该是技术战这套牌，因为我也是比较偏爱慢速卡组嘛，就这种叠加苟活的卡组可能会我比较擅长。当前版本我觉得最热门的卡组肯定是任务贼，然后任务贼在对抗基本所有慢速卡组都是非常有优势，然后他在打一些快攻卡组上也有一定的抗性，然后他在 TNT 中和比赛中都有着不错的表现，在比赛中他往往会被ban，然后在 TNT 中也有很多人用他打到比较高的排名。这次中欧对抗赛带给我的感受是，这次的欧洲选手都是状态火热吧，正值当打之年的选手，他们的实力要大于名气的，所以我觉得这次对手会更加难缠一些。哇哦！
欢迎回到2018炉石传说中欧对抗赛的现场。接下来，让我们有请今天的第2组选手登场。首先，让我们有请2017 HGT 夏季赛亚军，来自于瑞典的 Orange。 而他的对手则是刚刚惊险晋级的炉石传说中欧对抗赛的卫冕冠军 X Hope。精彩的中欧对阵即将展开，谁去谁留？让我们把答案交给今天的解说席。
Hello, hello. Welcome back, everybody. We are now in our second quarterfinal between Orange and X-Hope. It's Gia and Dr. J again. And Dr. J, I kind of got to steal a joke from somebody in chat. What do you call it when Orange is in China?
I'm not quite sure, Gia. What do you call it when Orange is in China?
A Mandarin Orange. Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Let's get into the game. Yeah, so X-Hope is one of the last two Chinese players standing, and it's him and Xiao Ti left to kind of defend in their hometown. And speaking of defending, X-Hope, I believe, was the reigning champion, I think?
I'm not sure. I'm still laughing at that really good joke. Yeah, I believe X-Hope the Champions of Gold series, along with, if I remember correctly, I believe Kalento also in the past had won a Gold Series, or at least made it pretty far into a Gold Series. So X-Hope, I was joking with Bob the other day, X-Hope is one of the last hopes for China right now, as China only has 2 players inside of this top 8. But, you know, X-Hope is a very consistent player that we've seen, you know, come to the championship tours quite a bit for China and the Chinese region. So I wouldn't be surprised to, you know, see him make a deeper run into this tournament, but he's got his money and work cut out for him in Orange. Orange, a very consistent player who has won tournament after tournament. You kind of name a tournament and Orange has won it.
Oh yeah, we cannot state enough how many things Orange has won, and Titanar is under his belt as well, which is one of the biggest tournaments in China, so he's definitely not a stranger to competing on Chinese soil. But we can see from this graphic, it looks like his Shutterwalk Shaman is not going to have the easiest time against X-Hope's lineup.
No, it's going to be a very close series, as X-Hope is most likely going to ban out that quest stroke from Orange. X-Hope went for a very anti-control lineup. He kind of, you know, went in a much further direction with it as well, as most players, when they go for that anti-control lineup, they bring something like Even Warlock, which sometimes can struggle a little bit against control. But X-Hope said, no, none of that. I'm bringing Q Block. So X-Hope has access to Q Block in his lineup. Not a deck we've seen too often in tournament play.
That is very true. I haven't seen too much of it at all, but I remember on the first day when I was casting with Neria, it was a game where X-Hope actually had some really epic Q Block versus Taunt Druid game where that Taldaram put in a lot of work copying some cubes and stuff. So he definitely knows his way around the deck, and it's got pretty much all the standard things you would expect. One Faceless, there's also a Rin in there, and yeah, I'm curious to see how he came up with the lineup, but it seems that against Orange's decks, it's only got really one favorable.
Yeah, the Q Block, you know, it was something that when looking at it yesterday, it kind of felt like it was falling short for X-Hope. I think he was playing the deck extremely well. It's just that he had Skull of the Minari on 5 every single game against RDU and lost 2 of those and almost got reverse swept in the end. So I'm a bit curious as to, you know, is this Q Block just able to keep up with the rest of his lineup? I really like the rest of his decks in the lineup, but I'm a bit of a non-believer in the Q Block, but I'm sure X-Hope will pilot it well and maybe change my mind during this series.
Yeah, I have no qualms with how he's been piloting it, but you did mention that 2 out of 3 games with Skull of the Minari on 5 were lost, and man, that is pretty much the dream start you can hope for as Q Block. So I hope that for X-Hope's sake, he can maybe find a win with it. But it seems like Orange is definitely not a pushover. His own rogue, I think, made it through the ban phase, which is a quest rogue, and X-Hope's got banned out.
Yeah, a little bit curious as to that, as I believe the entirety of X-Hope's lineup does struggle against that quest rogue. Just wanted to double check and make sure, but yes, it is indeed a quest rogue. I believe the quest rogue is going to have favorables against the entirety of X-Hope's lineup. Curious what made X-Hope decide to go with a different ban. Did he end up banning out the even Warlock or Shutterwalk Shaman? What did he actually ban out?
Definitely wasn't Shaman. I feel like I saw Warlock, but we're going to see it again soon anyway. Yes, I think.
Yeah, I believe looking at it now, it is that Warlock. And looking at X-Hope's lineup, it does make sense that he would have quite a bit of struggle trying to get through that Warlock. The Token Druid's going to have a rough time. The Hunter sometimes has a rough time. And then Q-Block, I'm unfamiliar with that territory, but I wouldn't be surprised if, Q-Block has no great ways of dealing with a turn 3 giant.
Yeah, not at all. And how many great ways does it have of dealing with a bunch of 4/4s? Godfrey is just one card. So let's see if he can get those demons rolling. This is definitely one of those matchups where you want to see Doom Guards and not Void Lords.
Yeah, Doom Guards are much more important in this matchup. Void Lords do stall, and the Void Lords actually have gotten a lot better against Quest Rogue since the most recent nerf, where they have become 4/4s. No longer will it take 2 hits. It actually takes 3 hits, and that might be the reason why, X-Hope left up this Quest Rogue, is he felt confident in this matchup, as I'm sure it has changed quite a bit since, the earlier days when they were 5/5s.
That's right. X-Hope has this first Lackey. Oh, and the Skull already in hand. Seems like X-Hope is a master of having Skull on curve. No demons just yet, but he's quite likely to draw into one at some point. Orange, on the other hand, with double Elven Minstrel, he will get some card draw going, but not until turn 5, it seems like. Doesn't have things like Mimic Pod or even Novice to start the cycle sooner, which is a bit unfortunate.
Yeah, it doesn't quite have that, very explosive start that Quest Rogue does have sometimes. But at least I think Orange can afford to not have quite a powerful start, at least in this matchup, as you're not really too stretched for time with when you complete your quest. Your opponent's most likely going to, play very slow. X-Hope doesn't, have that same pressure that something like an aggressive deck would have on Orange.
Yeah. And the other thing I wanted to note about the importance of having Doom Guards, which is now in the hand, wow, it's probably going to be Coin Skull next turn, as opposed to Void Lords, is that when vanished, the Void Lords are very, very difficult to play down again. But if Orange is somehow pushed into a position where he needs to vanish demons just to survive, the Doom Guards can at least push for charge damage if Orange is not at a safe health total. And also there's, of course, the ever-important Gul'dan to revive them.
Yeah, this is looking pretty solid for X-Hope right here. He has a very strong hand for himself, but also the fact that, Orange has kind of whiffed these last couple of draws. Would have rather seen something like a Mimic Pod or something to start, working on his quest progression. And I mean, there weren't too many ways to enable these Elven Minstrels, and double Elven Minstrel, though it is very strong against control, sitting there awkwardly in the hand.
Yeah. And Orange is not going to be too happy to see this Skull come down, and I imagine that he'll be using the Wax Elemental to proc the Elven Minstrel because he already has 1 bounce onto the South Sea deckhand, so he's looking to pick up something like another Bouncer, Zola, Sonia. There's things that you can get to get the quest done super soon.
It definitely has a lot of strong draws at his disposal. 2 deckhands is pretty powerful, but I think Orange is really going to be looking for that Sonia or just another Bouncer.
So X-Hope can make a 3/3 with charge, or he can make a Corpse Taker without the Lifesteal or Wind Fury. Never mind. Now that I say it, it doesn't sound too good. Let's just Hellfire and clear up the annoying minions. Make sure that Orange can't bounce any of those. And oh my gosh, second Doom Guard. Yikes.
Now that is a draw. This is not looking good for Orange right now. However, X-Hope, is a bit low on life if Orange can pick up some cards in order to complete this quest at, a more reasonable rate than he's being able to do so far. He might be able to end this game pretty quickly, as there isn't many defensive tools outside of that Spellstone in X-Hope's hand.
I think Orange would be tempted to probably freeze and then Minstrel again to try to find things to use to bounce the deckhands with. The problem with freezing the Doom Guard is that it doesn't prevent some cube shenanigans from happening. So that is the power of cube lock as opposed to even lock, I suppose.
Yeah, sometimes cube lock has these explosive starts where they, have that pressure, or they have the defensive tools, and that's what makes cube lock very versatile in a lot of the matchups. Is sometimes, you can aggro your opponent down, and sometimes you can just put up an infinite wall of taunts that your opponent cannot get through.
So the draws off the Elven Minstrel will be crucial. Something like Sonya is what Orange wants to see. Zola is still, well, if you fit in the Vanish, yes, it is technically quest completion, but without prep, gonna take a while.
And the funny thing is, X-Hope is at such a low life total.
Oh yeah, how did that happen?
It's almost as if Orange played out the deckhand, attempting to try and set up some kind of, sneaky potential lethal. I believe there is about 8 damage represented currently on the board. Would need to find another 5. Would actually be one off with the deckhand, Zola deckhand, if X-Hope were to not respect this board and play something like a giant or the lackey.
Yeah, I was pretty surprised at how much X-Hope has been tapping, I guess, for the total to go down this low. But I like this. You respect the minion with which the quest is being completed. So wait, doesn't that mean you go face with the Doom Guard every time if you use the Spellstone on a technically weaker minion?
I definitely think so. I think the Doom Guard is going face every time. I think X-Hope just was making sure that deckhand, kind of didn't get a chance to be bounced back. It kind of forces Orange to play out his other one. I think X-Hope has read that there is the second deckhand in there, because Orange would never, carelessly commit the deckhand like that.
I just found it a little curious that X-Hope kind of hesitated after using the Spellstone. I wonder if it was like, wait, maybe I'm supposed to clear this Minstrel too. But if I trade my Doom Guard in, then it looks just flat out wrong because my Doom Guard takes more damage. So, but anyway, in any case, I like the push face play. Orange has no way of finding lethal at this point, but he will be able to go for. Oh, I was looking at the Vanish there, but maybe it's a little bit too early, especially since your opponent has Skull of the Manari. The Doom Guards just come back down immediately.
Yeah, that's the most obnoxious thing about this matchup is that, you can freeze these Doom Guards, you can bounce them back, but freezing them and bouncing them back does not quite stop them when there's Carnivorous Cube, Skull of Manari.
Yeah. It looks like Orange is setting up for quest completion with the Glacial Shards. Well, not if he does it this way, right? Because then you're weak to Defile. So it looks like it's still going to be like a deckhand Vanish type play. I wonder why he's committed so many minions instead of maybe clearing off one Doom Guard. Is he still looking for a possible lethal?
I think it could be that possibility, as he does push a lot of damage with this play. But it's also the one great thing about Quest Rogue is a lot of times you never really have to commit to one minion. For instance, all it takes Orange is to be able to draw Sonya or something like Valera, and he can get that quest done pretty much at any point at will. So Orange really doesn't have to necessarily commit to one minion, and I definitely like the freezing of these Doom Guards to try and, just stabilize them for a little bit. That way Orange can maybe push through just these small minions to end the game.
So for X-Hope, he's quite in an awkward position. Actually, just going to go for the Godfrey to clear everything, respecting the possibility that Orange could finish the quest right then and there, and then have lethal with the quest immediately. So
yeah, that's why you saw Orange take that bump earlier in order to, play around the possibility of something like a Defile or Godfrey coming down.
It's quite interesting. X-Hope also knows that soon he'll be able to Gul'dan and push for 10 damage. So as long as he can, from what he sees, get Orange down to 10 health, then it might be doable. But this Giggling Inventor, gonna make things awkward as always. No Defile yet in hand for X-Hope.
Oh, another demon gets picked up. X-Hope, has a couple decisions here. Could opt to trying to get this giant down to put as much pressure on the board as possible. The only issue that he is facing down right now is he has seen how aggressive Orange has been playing to the board, so I would not be opposed to seeing him just play out this taunt minion, trying to survive just those couple extra turns. That way this Void Lord could come down.
Yeah, and I wouldn't hate seeing the Ooze either. It doesn't get the full 2 charges dagger clear, but it is just something onto the board, and I don't think X-Hope is really hoping to tap this turn either. He's at quite a scary health total.
Yeah, the Ooze is very strong here as he knows it curves out with a Valera, which, Orange has been making these very aggressive plays. Maybe he thinks that, Orange might have an awkward hand at this point as he has used a lot of his resources. Typically, you'd want to try and save the Ooze for after they play Valera to really guarantee that they don't have a weapon to enable these deckhands if they do go into that Valera mode. But I definitely like the tempoing of the Acidic Swamp Ooze as, turn 9 is around the corner.
Orange has 2 vanishes. He could choose to pull the trigger on one and fit in the deckhand there to get closer to quest completion. Can you talk to me about the merits of just playing Valera here? I feel like it is kind of sacrificing the board that you currently have.
I don't think Orange is quite worried about sacrificing the board that he already has. I think, with the Valera, it's going to give you the extra gas that you need to kind of end this game. And all the other plays were just extremely weak onto the board. So I really like getting the Valera down here as quickly as possible. That way you can really capitalize on all of its utility.
Yeah, I suppose you really don't want to be vanishing your opponent's Godfrey, and also when you haven't seen a Void Lord yet. So Valera is the play for Orange, and X-Hope with the pickup of Defile. Probably won't even need to use it with the amount of minions he has.
No, I don't think he has to really quite commit to that just yet. It would clear up, a large portion of his own board as well. I think he really wants to save onto that. But
the problem is, if he doesn't, then he can't get to the Giggling Inventor.
That is true. We'll have a very difficult time dealing with that Giggling Inventor. He does not commit the Defile, so that might just be reason enough to play this Defile here.
So you can make it so that just the Godfrey and the Ooze die, I think. Whereas Rin and the Void Lord survive.
I believe so. And, X-Hope says, what? Forget the Giggling Inventor. I'm just going to go ahead and play this Giant. And I kind of like this as well. Just wants to get that pressure onto the board. I mean, if Orange had that Sonya, it would have been played much earlier on.
The Giant is hiding behind a ton of taunts when you count the Void Lord Death Rattle. And I think X-Hope is trying to bait out a Vanish here, in which case he can then just slam Gul'dan for 2 Doom Guards, and he has the Cube to follow it up. So I kind of like the play.
Fleet Orange is on 3 of 5 of this deckhand right now, if I remember correctly, so we'll be able to complete his quest. I could be wrong on that, I'm not quite sure. Oh,
I feel like it's 2, but with the Death Shadow, it works out. Yeah.
It's 3 of 5 on the Glacial Shard. Sorry, yes. I thought it was...
So that makes 4 now, yeah.
Yes. I thought it was a 3 of 5 because I saw the counter there, but that was actually just Glacial Shard earlier. Mm-hmm. So right now it's going to be 4 of 5. Does have to commit to that Vanish pretty early, but, gets a lot of minions back that he would like to use later on with that Death Shadow.
Yeah. And I think the Wax Elemental definitely has to come down out of respect here also. Don't want to be taking 10 from a Gul'dan. And it will just soak up 10 damage, this Wax Elemental, unless X-Hope plans to go for something different. I guess there's an option to Defile and something.
Yeah, this is the world's greatest Wax Elemental right here. I don't think I've ever seen a Wax Elemental put in as much overtime as this one has right here.
He's a champ. I feel like the Righteous Protectors in Paladin often do a similar role. But the Waxy isn't as... he is neglected because he doesn't have any attack. So now for X Hope.
He does protect, though. He may not attack, but he protects.
Very much so. So Orange will definitely be able to get the quest done, but this Void Lord is protecting the 2 Doom Guards from being charged down. So it might be that Orange goes for a Giggling Inventor to try and stall out. Again, Vanish is so redundant, the problem, because then Skull of the Minari can revive. Oh wait, the hand space. With Vanish, he can just put back the Void Lord, and both the Doom Guards will be destroyed, right? Because the Void Lord came down before Gul'dan was played.
That is true. The one issue with that play, it does look too appealing here. I was going to say the one issue with that play is you really want to use the Vanishes as aggressively as possible to try and end the game, because there are some potential game states where X-Hope could try and just play Void Lord after Void Lord and try and cube those and just stall the game out as long as possible while fitting in the Hero Power's face. But I think Orange right now got the quest done at a reasonable rate and has access to those Scale Hides to heal himself back up. So I don't think he's necessarily too worried about that right now.
That is perfect how you described it. The game is very much turned on its head now. The win condition of aggression is out the window for X-Hope, but he has so many Void Lords available to him. Now that he's seen both Vanish, he's free to play out the cubes, even the Defile, cleaning up essentially 3 4/4s for 2 mana. And he can also toddler on the cube. Maybe not quite this turn, though.
That's still a pretty powerful turn. Could even commit to, potentially playing out one of the AoEs alongside it. That way, the Void Lords come out quicker than normal. That way they can keep pushing that damage.
Orange has to be a little bit thriftier with his resources, I should say, because he still knows that Godfrey has returned to the hand. He's only seen 1 Defile. And X-Hope is very much in a position to try to win through fatigue, as crazy as it sounds, but there is a world, because Zola has been played, so you can't quite go infinite with Death's Shadow.
Yeah, the one way I believe to go infinite would be the second Brewmaster, as Orange would be allowed to go Youthful Brewmaster, the Brewmaster, and can do that over and over. So if there is the other Brewmaster, which I believe there is, Orange will still be able to go infinite. It just won't be, as clean as that Zola over and over.
It does just put 1 minion on board per turn, because you have to spend, or rather return 1 to the hand to make sure you have another to play. So it's half as efficient as Zola, but it's something. The thing is, will Orange survive that long? Because as it stands, it seems like X-Hope is able to put out the Giant without worrying too much, having seen both Vanish.
Yeah, I kind of like getting this Giant down, wanting to, try and connect it with Orange's face here. It's, probably the most powerful play onto the board. All the other plays seem fairly weak unless he wants to try and thin through his deck with that. I keep drawing a blank on the name of the 6-mana 2/2. I played it so much in the last couple seasons.
Possessed Lackey.
Possessed Lackey. It's the name. It just didn't possess me. It's just. I don't know.
Okay, there's a Sonya. That is a crucial card that I quite forgot about. How could I? Sonya is the card that kind of reverses the nerf on Quest Rogue. Sure, you can make the minions 4/4, but if you print Sonya, the deck is good again.
The question is,
yeah.
You go ahead.
Play it down, because the thing you can do in the Quest Rogue Mirror is hide a Sonya behind a Giggling after quest completion, and then your opponent is just pretty much locked out if they don't have a Sonya of their own. The thing is, for this Warlock, they can Spellstone away the Sonya before killing any other minions. So Orange has to be very careful with the timing of it.
Yeah, you really want to make sure that you have that Sonya back in the hand at all points, as it is another one of those enablers to try and make you essentially go infinite in a way. So it looks as if Orange does not want to, save onto this Giggling Adventure. He probably feels too pressured by what's currently going on. and he needs some kind of board state here, so I don't blame him for going for this turn.
X-Hope is going to struggle to clear both of the giggling inventors, and Orange knows it. He would have to have exactly double Spellstone, which is at least buff once. X-Hope can do something with Hellfire, Spellstone, and Hero Power, but that's clearing up a lot of his own board.
I'm a little curious if X-Hope just slams down Godfrey here, and then I'm trying to think of how the math works out. Would have to try and get rid of the majority of the shields needs. So the cube is a 1, the minions are 2, they would be 6. You would deal a total of 4 damage onto your Void Lords, I believe, if you just kind of outright play it right now. So they would be 3 5s, or one of them would be 3 7, I believe.
You know, I think it's worth it. Who cares if your Void Walkers die? You get rid of both of the giggling inventors. Yeah, you lose a little power of the cubes, but... Huh. So, is this going to... Wait, why would he trade the cubes in first? Does this make it less damage? Maybe?
I mean, it honestly makes
what?
it to
Oh
where
my
it
God.
doesn't kill anything.
Whoa. What?
So,
What? Oh my gosh! Oh! X-Hope! Oh my gosh, and Orange is wasting no time capitalizing on this huge blunder from X-Hope. Oh no.
Yeah, I'm a little... I think X-Hope had it in his mind that he wanted to get rid of the Divine Shields first, but I don't think it worked out in a way where the shields could be destroyed beforehand.
He gave up all of his minions that fit the 2 health or lower proc. He missed the first proc, and he didn't have to do that, right? It works out the same way. You can think of the Divine Shield minions as having 6 health, so as long as you have the 2 Void Walkers at 2, the Giggles without Divine Shield as 4s.
Well, I think he was trying to set it up to where everything on the board had 2 or 4. That way he could damage his Void Lords the least. The issue with that is you can't get rid of all of the shields efficiently unless you put the 3/3 cube in, and then you were to be able to do that. So I think you just put the wrong cube in.
That was really, really sad now, and the game is looking even less winnable now with the Sonias and giggling inventors surviving. And maybe in some world there's actually still a way to win this game because he can Spellstone and Hero Power away the first Sonia before clearing up the board, but I don't know how you're able to do this in X-Hope's shoes. Like, how can you still think clearly and play as if nothing happened?
You kind of just have to accept that you made a mistake, move on, and try and play your best for the next couple of turns or games. I mean, we're all human. We all make mistakes. It all happens. So, you know, being on such a big stage, especially having a home audience in the Chinese region, you know, you really want to play your best for them. And sometimes the nerves just get to players. I think X-Hope, you know, maybe not necessarily in this game, has a chance, especially with, you know, how much value Orange has now generated, but definitely still has a chance in the series if he can just calmly collect himself and make sure that he can, you know, push through this game in the end.
To be fair, he did find a very clean line with this play. The only way you could have removed the giggling was to use a Spellstone there, which seemed like a bit of overkill, but yeah, then again, he knows that there's another Sonia in hand, and so the giggle is just going to come back. Man. Even I, as a caster and spectator, am highly distracted now.
I was not expecting that from X-Hope. You know, it's not, you know, not too characteristic. I mean, these players obviously, you know, they are very strong players. Nothing can take that away from them. I just think it was a little bit of the nerves being on such a large stage. He obviously had something in his mind when he was going for that play, and I think he had a good intention by that play, because I myself too was looking for a way to try and make sure to clear off all the Divine Shields before playing the Godfrey, in order to make sure that Godfrey, you know, didn't damage the Void Lords as much. It is very unfortunate that, you know, maybe he didn't take enough time on that turn and just, maybe he, started off the turn with how he wanted to play it, but in the end, it just kind of, happened to be what it is. Got to move on.
It is a case, I think, of tunnel visioning on the optimization, which causes you to miss out on the fundamentals of the play. And I am guilty of doing things like that myself in low pressure situations like ladder, which is not even in the last week of the month or anything like that. So I cannot blame X-Hope for being under the pressure there, but wow, that is definitely a mechanical error. And now, yeah, he can spell Stone away the Sonya, but there's another Giggles in hand, another Shadow Step.
Yeah, I'm a little curious as to why Orange kind of left the Sonya on the board. Did have the other Shadow Step, could have tried to Shadow Step the Sonya as well. Maybe Orange feels that as if he needs this Shadow Step in order to push through some damage with the Stone Tusk Boar. We have to remember that both of the Vanishes are currently gone, so Orange is going to have to get through all of these minions the hard way that X-Hope has. But however, on the other side, these are essentially the last minions that X-Hope has.
And I believe X-Hope still has a cube in the deck. The first cube was natural, and the second was Tal'Daram. So if one of the Void Lords survive, I doubt it though. He might be able to get something going, but it's just looking hopeless at this point. Sorry about the pun.
Orange does have access to the infinite combo I was talking about earlier, where you can Brewmaster one of your minions and then Brewmaster the Brewmaster to constantly have that continuous flow of minions. You don't necessarily need the Zola to go infinite. You do have other methods to do so.
Orange is nearing fatigue, I suppose, but with one scale hand in hand, it's going to be able to cancel out any fatigue damage he takes for the first 4 turns. Seems like it's not going to be relevant.
Just trying to think of how X-Hope kind of gets himself out of this situation. I don't think he has any more board clear besides potentially a Defile, but even Defile, doesn't really do enough for him here. He has to find a way to just push damage and either, I guess not necessarily push damage, but clear off every single minion that Orange has, which is a tall task to ask for.
I do think both Defile are gone. I don't think we've seen a Dark Pact yet, nor the Faceless. So the Faceless
we haven't seen either Dark Pact.
If there's still a cube left, it could get some work done with the Faceless, but I don't imagine how this Void Lord is going to live to see another day past this turn. So as long as Orange removes that, that's pretty much all the high-pressure threats out. Technically, the Giant is a high-pressure threat, but if X-Hope cubes that, then he doesn't have a taunt. So Orange can just push for lethal on his end.
And X-Hope is just trying to figure out how he gets himself back into this game. I'm not quite seeing it right now. You would have to hope that, Orange were to have a very awkward hand, and Orange's hand is almost awkward enough to potentially get X-Hope there. The one issue is Orange is just going infinite right now with this youthful Brewmaster.
Yeah, and it can bounce pretty much the best minion in Giggling Inventor.
Yeah, this is the infamous play of how they go infinite here, just by constantly bouncing back the Brewmasters over and over.
It's pretty disgusting. But if we were already thinking about it's going to be a tough road for X-Hope to make it, even before that Godfrey play, just the fact that that huge missed opportunity to clear the board state and